This is to show you that during the Civil War, of the estimated 750,000 soldiers, sailors, and Marines who died during the war, fully 2/3 died from disease, not from battle.
Oh no.
Oh yeah. Sorry, Carol. All right. All right. So, by the way, all of these nice people are, number one, they're all men. Number three, they're all dead.
Oh, dead. That one checks the line.
So, are you ready?
You gotta be a good actor.
All right, number one, you died from what? Dysentery.
Oh shit.
He's been to drama school. All right. This killed more soldiers than any other disease, anything else. Chronic dysentery, chronic diarrhea. He started pooping. He couldn't keep anything down, and eventually
you go when you gotta go.
And yeah. I want you to do something.
No, he don't have
No,
to do it.
watch this. Watch this. Watch this. Now, every time, I'm stealing this from Doc over there. Every time I say and point to there, you whisper, he died. All right? This is good, you know, audience participation. All right. He got sick. He could barely make it to the Jakes to go poop. He was pooping in his tent. He was so bad that he died. All right. Number two, you died from typhoid fever. This is probably the second largest death causing. Typhoid fever, waterborne disease. It was endemic. Endemic, of course, means that you could catch this stuff anywhere. Willie Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln's son, died in the White House from typhoid fever. Willie Sherman, General Sherman's son, died somewhere down in either Georgia or Alabama from typhoid fever. And this guy caught it. If he was strong enough, he could survive it. But he was not strong enough, and number four, you died from malaria. Yeah, that tells you everything, doesn't it? Oh, how do you catch malaria? Well, maybe now, but not during the Civil War. This is two words, two Latin words, malaria. Mal meaning bad, aria meaning air. You died from bad air, a miasma of bad air around a swamp where there's stagnant water or nasty stuff. No matter the guy swatting mosquitoes like crazy, it was the bad air that gave him malaria. Again, we can make him feel better using quinine to stop a lot of those raging fevers and chills. This was probably caused by something else. More than likely the flu. If he came to me at sick call and he had symptoms, flu-like symptoms, you know what that is, fever and nasty stuff, we would prescribe bed rest, and he would get 2 weeks worth of bed rest. And that would, when I say bed rest, he didn't get out of the bed. We brought him his food, we brought him bedpans, he didn't get off his back. What happens when you lay around and don't get off your back?
Get pneumonia.
Fluid builds up in your lungs. He got pneumonia, and number 7, measles.
Oh, lucky.
Oh, you had dysentery. All right. Measles. It's a bad disease. It's really bad. We thought we had it eradicated with our vaccinations. We don't have vaccines back then. He's from some farm up in Minnesota in the west. He'd never been as far as 10 miles away from that farm. He didn't have any real immunity from anything. He goes into a unit with a bunch of other guys from Chicago or Philadelphia or New York. They probably have had the measles or have been close to somebody who had the measles and gave him the measles, and he wasn't ready for it. What happened?
He died.
He died. All right, let's dissect the diseases. These guys died from wounds. Number 3, you died from being gut shot. Abdominal wounds or chest wounds, thoracic wounds or abdominal wounds were considered mortal wounds to us. We knew that if we operated on that person, opened up the belly, opened up the chest, that it would become septic. So we didn't, and we knew that if it became septic, he would die. We couldn't fix that.
I thought that was me.
Well, you too, yeah. Shut up, you're dead. Anyway,
We're gonna leave.
Okay.
what we would do with him was just set him,
We're just gonna come to our house.
we call it a Joshua tree, where we just make him as comfortable as we can. If we have a nurse who could write, we would have her write, or him write, a last letter home, and usually within 24 hours he would expire. And he died. You bet. All right, number 6, you died from killed by cannon fire. Oh, what a way to go! What a way to go! Think of this: double canister shot is 36 1-inch round iron or lead balls coming out of a 12-pounder cannon. 36 of them. He took all of that double shot. There's nothing left. We couldn't even find his shoe. Just a pink mist out on the field. Well, we know he died. All right. At number 9, you died from being bayoneted. That's probably the least that we would care about. The least. But, well, what would happen if you're standing there, you just fired your single shot, rifled musket, you're loading, and you get ready to fire again, and all of a sudden, a whole group, a whole battalion of Confederate soldiers stand up with their bayonets fixed. They fire a volley at you, start yelling and running at you with those fixed bayonets. What are you going to do? Run away! Well, he tripped and fell down. And some rebel came up and he got him in the back. Now, that didn't kill him outright. What killed him later was this. Triangular shaped bayonet. Triangular shaped wounds do not like to heal. Period. And it became septic. And what happens when somebody becomes septic? You got it. There you go. So.
Now the nurse is going to anesthetize the patient. 95 to 97% of the time the patients were anesthetized. Now, let me say it again. 95 to 97% of the time the patients were anesthetized. It comes from the National Civil War Medical Museum in Frederick, Maryland. The only time you would have had patients that may not have been anesthetized is during First Bull Run, because nobody was ready for patients in First Bull Run.
Doctor, the patient has been rendered senseless.
Okay, can you check his heart?
I will.
She's going to check his heart with the stethoscope. Now notice, this is a monaural stethoscope, one ear.
His respiration is good.
Okay? Let's see what it looks like here.
I got here fast enough to assist our surgeon.
The most frequent eye injury during the Civil War was a musket cap that would explode. Now the cap goes on a spot on the gun, and when it gets hit with the hammer, it puts off the fumate of mercury, lights up the gunpowder in the gun, and propels the bullet. Those shatter. And when they shatter, because they have 4 wings to them, they fly into the eye. Now the other 2 things that happened during this time period, 1850s to 1860s, are people who come into the doctor's office who are stonemasons, and they're chipping away at stone and fragments fly into the eye. Or it could be a metal worker of some kind, and again, fragments fly into the eye. Those are the most likely things that you would see. With this eye, normally we would work off of one of these kits. This is an eye surgery kit. Notice it has ivory handles. Notice it's sitting in a case that is not sterile. We don't know anything about germs until 1866. So the first thing I want to do is make a small slit, especially in this one spot. Okay, would you stabilize the head right there? Here. Right here. Small cut there. Okay. Let go of the head. Just the top of his head. All right, let's see if we can get these pieces of metal out of there. Takes a very steady hand. Ah. There's the first one. Let's see if we can get the second one. Ah. There's the second one. I think we have one more. Yeah, that's close to the duck. There it is. Oh, that's a big piece. Look at that one.
Not that big.
Go save the eye?
Probably. Okay. Now, there's not much else I can do except for removal of the pieces. So we're going to take this bandage and we're going to place it back over his eye to protect it. And we're going to flush the eye every hour, and hopefully that's going to take care of it. Now, if the eye starts to cloud over internally because we might have missed a piece, there are cases where it's gone straight through the lens and into the eye. We'll check to make sure that we don't see any clouding on the inside of the eye. If there isn't, the person may regain most of their sight. If not, at least they still have one eye that they can see with. So I want you to bring him around slowly. Slap him a little. That's how you wake up a patient. You slap them. He's coming around. I don't know if you're going to get to keep your eye, soldier. It's going to hurt. We're going to have you put your hand back over your bandage, and we're going to slowly swing you and get you off of here. Okay.
There you are.
Swing around. Steady up.
Steady up. Grab the stretcher. Put him in the other chair. It's empty. Okay.
Call your
Got it? Yep. All right. Some kind of wound. He's holding his hand right here. It's some kind of chest wound. We're not positive what kind of chest wound it is. This is the type of patient that we would take after we've already done any patient that we can easily bandage up and send back out on the battlefield, or a patient like this eye, which we might be able to save. Anything in the gut between here and here is sometimes fatal. And so those are the patients that we do last. If you look at paramedics today, they take a patient to the hospital that they think is the worst. They call those red patients. Whereas we take the patients that have the least problems first because they want to put them back out on the battlefield.
Take it easy, soldier. What unit you with?
69.
All right, you Irishman.
Hey, whiskey.
Maybe it's chloroform.
Whiskey.
Yeah, you got shot.
All right, boy. Come on.
Ugh.
Easy now, easy.
Easy.
One thing, we must say that we are compressing time a little bit. It usually takes around 8 to 10 minutes for the chloroform to really take effect.
Chloroform was discovered in 1840. This is the third war that is using chloroform. The first war was the Mexican War. The second war was the Crimean War. The third war is the Civil War. Now we also have, besides chloroform, we have ether. But we never use ether at night because it's so flammable. It might light up the patient and the doctor from the fumes. Chloroform is usually a little easier to take too. There were fewer deaths from chloroform than ether in patients. Although, out of 80,000 operations during the Civil War on the federal side, a little under 40 died on the table from being over-anesthetized. That's extremely good odds.
That's better than the ratio today, by the way.
40 or 40,000?
40. 40.
Are they faking the deadness?
No one's dead. Okay, she's been rendered senseless.
Okay.
What do we have, Doctor?
Are they faking? These guys?
Ugh, cute.
Well, there's a bullet on top.
Right there.
Here. Let's see what we got in here.
Hey, young man, would you sit down?
No, it's not. Oh, there's another piece of something. Hang on.
That's the song.
Pretty shallow.
Yeah, it is.
That's a pretty big piece.
What the heck is
It's
that?
the back of a pocket watch. You think? I don't
There
know.
might be more.
All right, let me stick my finger in there.
You know, that's the best way to probe for anything in there.
Yeah,
With your
here.
finger.
Oh
If it's not too deep, look at there.
Hey, he got hit at 12:15.
That's what it says.
All right, let's see.
Anything else in there?
Yeah, I'm feeling some more pieces.
Nice.
Oh, this looks like the,
That's the
Yeah.
works.
yeah. Ugh.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, that looks like the works. You better give me a scalpel. I'm going to have to widen this a little.
And you chose to eat
Thank you.
lunch.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Now I get my fingers in there. Oh, that looks like the.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Half of it anyway.
half of it. Okay, let's see.
Before I became a surgeon, I would watch me.
Know the phrase, keep on taking it.
Oh, there it is. Yeah,
Oh, there it is.
there it is. There's the top. Do we have any lint? Dry lint. Now, lint is like cotton thread. It is put into wounds. That's a good one. And it is to absorb anything that comes out of the wound itself. And in this case, it looks like we've washed this out, so it should be okay. I'm going to let this heal, yes, from the bottom up. Now, if I seal this, most likely what I'm going to get is inflammation. You'd call it infection. I'm going to get an inflammation. I might get a pus pocket. I might have a wound that might kill this person eventually if I get any gangrene or anything like that. So I'm going to leave it kind of open, and I want it to heal from the bottom up. That means I'm going to try to absorb anything that comes out of it. I'm going to change that dressing every 24 hours. And hopefully, because I don't think it hit the lung and deflated the lung, both lungs will be okay. All right.
Cover that.
Yeah, here. You know what? We're gonna turn the bandage like. You got a big bandage? Now let's just turn. Well, let's just turn the bandage like this. Okay. We have other patients we need to get to. All right. Go ahead and wake him up.
Are we going to have to do the alcohol?
Well, he is Irish. No. We're trying to get him up.
Well, this will do it.
Well, no, we're not going to do that.
Question.
Just a moment.
Here. But you're going to have to buy a new pocket watch. Are we ready?
We'll leave him on the table for a minute here, okay? Here, put your hand there. Can we answer any questions from you? Be quiet, patients. Yes, sir.
Would you eventually then stitch up the open wound?
I probably would not stitch up that open wound. I really wanted to go from the bottom up.
Let the drainage come out,
Yes.
then we can pull out the lint and it will be.
And if we get any pus out of it, it'll be absorbed in the lint. We'll keep it clean. We'll flush it out with good, clean, cold water. From the stream.
Oh, okay.
Then hopefully the horses aren't upstream in.
I shot you.
Can we answer any other questions for you? Well, let me give you a quick history of doctors prior to the Civil War. Just real quick, okay? Doctors prior to the Civil War, there's two kinds of doctors. You'll notice that we both have blue on. So we are diplomaed doctors that have been hired by the Lincoln government. A normal doctor who had been here in Astoria would have earned about $18,000 to $19,000 a year. And most of that in today's money. Most of that would have been barter. Whereas if you went and worked for the Lincoln government, you made approximately $70,000 in today's dollars. Now there's two kinds of doctors that you find. In the North, you would have had a diplomaed doctor. That means that doctor went to medical school. And in going to medical school, you went from October to April because they had to keep the cadavers on ice. You went 7 hours a day, Monday through Saturday. You took copious notes. That's your first year. During the summer, you might have interned with another doctor. Or in the case of my doctor, he actually interned at the Marine Hospital in Chicago, where people who worked in the shipyards and were sailors went when they were sick. Then you go to your second year of medical school. One of the interesting things about medical school is every course you take, you buy a card. That's how you pay your tuition. Tuition was $12,500 in today's dollars. I defy anybody to go to medical school for that amount today. When you collected all of the tickets, you had a 3-hour stand in front of 3 doctors quiz, and they could ask you anything they wanted. Then you wrote a 7 to 12 page dissertation paper out of your notes that you took in classes on a topic of interest. If you passed all of that, you got a diploma. But in the South, they were apprentices mostly. You'd go to someone and say, I want to be a doctor. Now the first son got the plantation. The second son became a lawyer. You got the third choice. If you went to medical school, the third son. The third son would have gone to a doctor, and the first year he would have swept the office, read medical books, and most likely would have watched the doctor with patience. That's going to be his second year. In the third year, on a dark and stormy night, when the doctor doesn't want to go deliver the baby, he's going to roll over and say, you go deliver the baby, you've seen it twice. In the fourth year, if the doctor feels that you know everything they know, he will give you a certificate that says you can practice medicine. This man knows everything I know. They practiced on slaves. And by the way, the slaves were the first HMOs in the United States. If you kept them well and didn't have to go out to the plantation much, you made more money. You practiced on the poor, and you practiced on this gentleman, the group that everybody hated in the 1860s, the Irish. You could also go to a doctor in your area and say, I'll tell you what, I'll give you 500 bucks. Give me a couple of your patients so I can establish a practice. That was another way a doctor could get started. So medicine was very interesting during this time period. Medical schools were very interesting during this time period. We were making a transition from medieval medicine to modern medicine. Modern medicine says you have a symptom and malaria, and we're going to give you something to get rid of that symptom. Medieval medicine, it says you have a symptom and we're going to give you something to have that symptom more to get rid of that symptom. So if you have chronic diarrhea, we're going to give you something to have more diarrhea to get rid of your diarrhea. No, that does not work.
And then we'll bleed you.
And then we'll bleed you. And we weren't bleeding people during this time period, by the way. But we were using leeches. Because we were doing plastic surgery and skin grafts. And to get a blood supply to a skin graft, we were using leeches. Very interesting.
Ew.
Thank you for your time. If you have